Good morning, guys. Today's video, should Tesla have dropped the $35,000 version of the Model 3? Let's talk about it. All right, today I want to discuss the apparent drop of the $35,000 Model 3 from Tesla's lineup. First off, it's unclear as to whether or not it's a permanent drop. Tesla insists that they will be marketing the Model 3 in $35,000 version, but for right now, you can't even opt for it on their website, even if you say that you want to wait. And there's been a lot of controversy over this, obviously, a lot of discussion of whether or not has Tesla broken a promise. So I wanted to talk about it because it's fresh in the news. And now bear in mind, I'm not an analyst. I have no money invested in Tesla. I bought this car, so I've invested money in the car. But I'm going to start off by saying that one big problem here is that Elon Musk does tend to open his mouth and say things too quickly. Now, I don't mean to sound harsh when I say that, but it's sort of his MO. He makes promises, and it's not that he doesn't deliver on them. Most promises he delivers on, but he usually delivers late. And but it was unclear. See, back when they made this announcement, it's been about 3 years ago, or over 3 years, that he announced that they're going to be coming out with a car and it will start at $35,000. Back then it was unclear if that was really even possible, at least with the specs that they had. It's obviously possible to do. I mean, you can build an electric car for less than that. You could build an electric car probably for 15 grand if you don't mind no technology in it in really short range. But to meet the specs that he had put out there at that $35,000 price point, it was unclear if that was even possible. And I really believe that Elon was banking on economies of scale. He was banking on the cost of batteries dropping, which they built their own battery factory to do their best to assure that battery prices would drop. But I think he was banking on a lot that hasn't necessarily panned out, or not at the time frame that he was hoping it would pan out. So I think that's a big part of this. Now, my opinion of this, first off, nobody should make a promise that they neglect to fulfill. I believe that our word is our bond. We should do what we say. But it's unclear as to whether or not Tesla is going to do it. It is frustrating that they've taken the $35,000 option off of the ordering page. And I haven't gone on recently to try and order one. Maybe they put it back up by now, I don't know. But they did take it down for a time. And but let's give a scenario here. Let's say that they're never going to offer the car in a $35,000 version. I think that would be foolhardy for them because they made a direct promise. And by they, I mean Elon Musk. But let's face it, he's the majority shareholder. When he makes a promise, it's pretty much Tesla making that promise. So they need to fulfill the promise that they've made. Now, do they need to strip the car a little bit further in order to reach that price point? I don't know, because they made the promise not only at a $35,000 price point, but at minimum specifications. The 220-mile range, 5.7 seconds, 0 to 60. Those things were part of it. The large screen, those things were part of that promise. So they need to fulfill the promise, I believe, or they're going to lose quite a bit of credibility. And Tesla is under the microscope, so they can't afford to lose any credibility. Now, let's say they do it, but they don't do it for a couple years. That's still a bad thing, because it means that the people that really need the federal tax credit can't get it. So that's a problem. Now, let's swing the pendulum to the other direction, and let's play devil's advocate. Let's say they don't honor the $35,000 version. Are there any pluses to doing that? I'm probably going to get a lot of flack in the comments section, but I would say yes, there are pluses to dropping that car. Now, let me say I don't agree with them dropping it, so don't attack me and say that I want them to drop the $35,000 car. I am not saying that at all, but I will say there are a couple of, there's some wisdom in them potentially doing that. Now, everybody knows that they're short on cash, and that's the biggest reason that they're marketing the most expensive versions first. They've always done that with their other models. So from a financial, just a purely financial standpoint, it's best to market the expensive cars first. I think that's unarguably obvious to whoever is you're discussing this with. But there are a couple other facets to it. First off, those that can afford to buy the more expensive car, typically you've got that group of people are going to be, they're more particular about the features within the car, so that may make that a little bit more difficult for Tesla to cope with. But in general, you are dealing with a smaller set of people, fewer people, and so you have less customer service, potential points of customer service issues to deal with. If you market the car cheaper, you sell a lot more, which leaves your risk exposure higher, and the number of customer service issues or complaints or whatever goes up. So you have to cover all that. Number two, it does, lower cost cars dilute the value of the more expensive cars. So, and this is seen in Porsche and some other manufacturers that make high-end cars. When they start making base model cars, some of their high-end clientele complain that they are diluting their company's image or whatever, and they are diluting the value potentially of the higher end cars. So cars that the higher end cars like this was $50,000+. An all-wheel drive version of this car with autopilot is going to be 60 grand. The performance version is 72,000, I think, to start. So those cars, if you purchase a high-end Model 3 and then all of a sudden they flood the market with $35,000 cars, your expensive car doesn't look like it's worth as much, because after all, you have now taken that average price range and you have broadened the base of it, so the middle point of the average price range is lower. And there's a bunch of facets that affect that, but I think that it would be easy as a higher end version Model 3 owner, an all-wheel drive customer or a performance model customer, would probably be pleased to see the $35,000 base model dropped from the lineup, just because the more expensive the cars are, the higher the level of status, I guess you'd say, that the Tesla name has. So again, not that I agree with dropping it. Don't assume that I'm in that camp, because I think if I could have gotten a car with some fewer options to save some money, I maybe would have gone that route. It's hard to say. I would have wanted all-wheel drive, but maybe not the premium interior pack. I don't know. Anyway, that's neither here nor there at this point, but I'm just saying, though, that there is that facet to look at. So I know this is going to be almost like my political video. There's going to be a lot of discussion and debate about it, but what do you guys think? Give me your comments down below. Let me know what your thoughts are on this, because I'm kind of in the middle on it. I didn't need to have only a base model car. I was going to be upgrading anyway, so it doesn't affect me directly, and I understand both sides of the argument, but I do have a specific opinion on it, but that's, for me, that doesn't apply to everybody, so I'm going to leave that off the board right now. But those are my thoughts, my analysis of it. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. As usual, like, subscribe, do what you got to do, and till tomorrow or whenever my next video comes out, you guys take it easy.